Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to see you all. And today we're going to be talking about anatomy of an enrollment call. And this is just something that I created. As I mentioned, this is just one way. This is just my way. And how I developed this was I don't see enrollment calls as something other than a coaching call. It really is one thing for me. And so I would do the reach outs that I mentioned, in the Money Lab, and I would, say, hey, I'd love to hear what's going on in your world. And I might serve them just a little bit on that call. Otherwise, I'd move them to another call, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But they might say, well, how do I work with you? And I actually wasn't thinking that, and I hadn't prepared anything. So finally I had to come in to a system that I could put in my automatic processing part of my brain, that if somebody asked me at any time of day, 2 o'clock in the morning, if someone said, woke me up and said, Kamin, what it looks like to work with you, I would know exactly what to say. And that's really what I want for all of you, is to be awake to, we want to put as many things in automatic processing so that we can be present. That part of our brain that knows when we learn how to drive a car, every detail of the car takes effort to remember, check this mirror, look behind, all of that. But the more we use our brain and allow it to take over the automatic processing, some people call that our elephant, it's just running, just put that in there. And then we can call on it when we need it. We don't need it in conscious memory. Our subconscious is much faster than our conscious. So now if I'm having a call with someone and they say, well, wow, this has been so helpful, what would it look like to work with you? And I'm like, it's almost like a switch flips on. It says, oh, enrollment, this is the process. And so that's what I'm going to share with you, is how that shows up for me. And then I want you all to work this week on kind of looking at your own process, so that when we're in our calls, we're really super present with the person in front of us, such that we can hear both what they're saying, but also hear underneath what they're saying. Because many times you all have coached people. They're saying, oh, I want more money. Oh, I want this. But really underneath they're saying, I'm not enough. I wish I had a partner. I'm so sad. I want something else in my life. Especially sometimes with my corporate clients, they're saying, I want a promotion. And underneath they're like, I want to escape. I hate my job. And so the ability to be that present requires us to have that level of focus in the session, so that the enrollment part, we just want to know it. We just want to know it, have a system for it, whatever that is for you. This is, again, just mine. And so when I start a call, now I'll tell you how I've moved, but I have many, many sheets of paper like this. And I just kind of designed this for this call, because it's not really written this way in the pages I have. But when I start a call, I learned our egoic mind, some people call it the Frankenstein mind, it's trying to protect us. So if you've practiced numbers for your business, for your programs, if left up to your own devices, the brain will try to protect you, and it will take a lower number. So many times I talked about it, up and over. I practice a higher number so that in a session I can hit the number that I really would like to hit. The other way I do it is I write it in this upper right hand corner. So the name, date is there. This is for writing the number, and then this is for my notes. And the reason I have this is, years ago, I read a wonderful book, and I highly recommend it if you haven't read it, which is More Time to Think by Nancy Klein. And she puts it a little harsher than I do, but it's I think she said something like it's a crime if you interrupt someone. Now, we're coaches, so many times as we're listening to someone, we know the solution for them. And many new coaches want to jump in and tell them right away what the solution is. I had to teach myself in this quarter of a page, this is my notes on them that they're saying, this is for me just to jot down any notes. Because what I'm looking for during the enrollment process is, do they hear it? And I use these for both clients, just not the upper corner with clients, but with clients, the same thing is to listen. And I might hear something, I might hear an age when something got said, I might hear a challenge or a question to ask, but I'll let them continue and then go back to what I heard was X. Is that true? The other way I use this in an enrollment call is to capture what I can see working with them on. And they're just quick notes. So if someone comes to me because I work with a lot of people on growing their business, they say, I want more clients, so I might write that down. Oh, I'd like to podcast, or I'd like to write a book, or I'd like to do something else. I'll write that down. I'm having trouble with my child, spouse, partner, whatever. I'll write that down. And so what I'm listening for is, where are the complaints in their life? Where are the things that aren't working that I might be able to serve? That also, the reason I also write it down is so that I'm not having this thought, oh, I can help them on this, I can help them on this. Once I write it down, I forget it. My mind can be very busy sometimes. So this is a way that I've found to just quiet it. I captured it. I don't have to go back. I do that in meditation also. Remember to, call this person, remember to call. No, I just come out, write it down, and I can go back. So I'm not holding on to anything. I can be fully present. And so when we have, and I have to add this here. One of the things that I had to learn over time in the beginning, before Prosperous Coach, some of my calls were like 3 hours, 4 hours. It was crazy. It was it's unbelievable to think back to those times. But what I was doing was solving all of the upsets that they were bringing forward in that session or in 2 sessions. And what I had to learn was too much information would just overwhelm them, and they wouldn't take action anyway. So that also allowed me to keep them focused on one thing and one thing only for that call. And then I'd get to the end of the call and I'd say, well, and there's a kind of a natural progression to it, and or time. The ability for us then to be able to say something in the effect, in the Prosperous Coach, it says, are you complete? Well, that works for some realms, but not everybody. And so for me, I just said, was this helpful? Was this useful for you? It was so wonderful speaking with you. And I'll start to wrap it up. Now they'll ask me, or not at that time, ask me, whether, is there any homework? Is there anything else? What should I be doing? And we might talk about some tasks or some things that they can do. Many times when you say, was this helpful? Was this useful? They may say, well, what would it look like to work with you? Or I do hear frequently, I'm afraid to ask you your prices. And I'm like, that's okay. You can ask. If you'd like to know, you can ask. I'm happy to share. And the opportunity there is simply, we're leaving that space with, is this useful? Now, many times when I say, is this useful? I want them to awaken to what transpired in this session. Otherwise, we can say, are you complete? They're not necessarily awake to, was this helpful to them? Did they learn something? Was there an aha? You can even ask them, what was the most useful thing for you during our call? That puts them into the center with you. Does that make sense? And then from there, if they ask, and it looks like a fit, usually if they ask, I'll just go ahead and tell whatever I've written in that corner, but I'll give you the script in just a moment. If they don't ask and you like the person, if I like the person, I may give them homework and then just go ahead and schedule a session for a week from now, if I would like to see their progress over time. If not, I'm happy to end the call. And if they ask the prices, that's when I kind of go into my system, my script, my what I've come up with is, it'll look like, so if Samantha said, what would it look like to work with you? I might say, is that something that you'd like to know? Now that seems like an odd thing to do, but I want to verify that's actually what they're asking me about. And she says yes. I say, well, I really enjoyed speaking with you. Here are some things that I saw that we could work with on over time. You've mentioned growing your business. You'd like to put money away for your child. You'd like to write a book, whatever. Now, those are the things that I can see that you have mentioned. Is there anything else that I haven't mentioned? Or is that accurate, that those are the things that you want to work on? And they usually will validate, or they'll give me a correction, and I have no attachment to a correction. It doesn't mean I didn't hear it correctly. It just means I will take the note and transcribe it exactly the way they said it for future. And then I might say, now, if we were to work together, and I really mean if, what else? Is there anything else that you might want to work on? And I'll capture those. When I feel like I have at least a good 2 or 3, 5 things, I will say, thank you so much for sharing those. Here's what I see that we could work on together. If we were to work together, I have 3 ways that I work with people. I have my apprenticeship programs. I have and there's this price. I have the coaches program that many of my coaches are in. And most people will start with me in my 2-month program, and it's this price. So, and I'll tell them a little bit about that. Now, I will then go back to other things. Now, if we were to work together, what might be one thing that you want to work with first? So I'm going to not leave on affordability like Steve and Rich talk about in the Prosperous Coach. We want to get off the numbers as fast as we can. Affordability will look like you're ending the call and I've got these payments and it's this amount, and they'll say, okay, I have to think about it, or I need to talk to my spouse or partner, whatever that delay is, that's fine. I just go ahead, I hear it, write it down, and I go ahead and schedule a call and I give homework at that time. Because what I'm checking for when I give homework is I want to see their coachability. I want to see what stops them. And I usually only schedule it if I can, if my schedule will allow, I'll schedule it 1 week out. Because I really want to see their thought process and how they moved. And then I'll say, if you run into any trouble or if you need support during the week, reach out. If I have time, we'll jump on a call. Otherwise, I'll answer your email, your question via email. But I also want part of that scheduling a second call for me is understanding that most people haven't budgeted for coaching. They're not sitting there thinking, oh, I've got X amount of dollars, to join Maureen's apprenticeship program. They're not, it's just not sitting there. They'd be like thinking, ooh, if they have that money, they're thinking, are we going to Hawaii this year? Are we doing something else? So they need to know, most people know they can't count on themselves. Are you aware of that? Most people know that they've tried a bunch of things and not followed through. So I want to paint that picture of I'm their coach. I'm the person who's going to be there to help them, not necessarily in an accountability way, but an accountability way that they're going to stay on track or ask for help. It's like test driving a car. It's the same thing. And so it's whatever they need to know in order to know that I'm the right coach, or if I'm not the right coach, who might be the right coach. So I'll stop there. I wanted to see if there are any questions up until this point and see how this information, is it helpful? Is it useful for you? And what questions might be coming up?